Well, welcome back to Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa's 2022 theme, which is taking a deep dive. And this year, USCO and Unity Kitchener have created a common theme called Taking a Deep Dive. I want to thank Reverend Roxanne Buckle and Cheryl Rogers for creating our new unique theme. We are in a new and powerful year of rebuilding, and we will benefit from practicing and fine-tuning our spiritual tools. Each month, we will be going deeper with single topics over a 3-week period. So this promises to be a deeply enriching approach to integrating spiritual theory, and we will come out of it feeling stronger and having, more reliable tools. So this week, our Sunday lesson is the journey to awakening. And this is absolutely my favorite topic. So what does it mean to awaken? How do I awaken? How will I know when I awaken? Is awakening even for me? And I cannot think of a better speaker to address this subject than Reverend Dr. Jane Simmons. And I thank Reverend Roxanne for bringing her to us today. Reverend Jane is an ordained minister and educator who holds a doctoral degree in theology from Holos University. Since her ordination in 1999, Jane has ministered in 4 Unity churches in Canada and the United States, as well as serving as the teen ministry coordinator for Unity Worldwide Ministries and adjunct faculty for Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute. She has a passion for heart-centered personal and cultural transformation and is committed to helping bring forth a kinder, more compassionate world. Certainly, a kinder, more compassionate world is something that all of us are looking forward to. She is Unity's 2020 recipient of the Light of God Expressing Award, and she is co-founder of Quantum Living and co-creator of the Quantum Process, a shadow work system that focuses on healing and integration. More information about that work can be found at www.theartofquantumliving.com. Let us extend a warm USCO welcome to Reverend Dr. Jane Simmons. Welcome, Dr. Jane.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be with you today. It always, it's good for my soul to be with my Canadian friends and colleagues, now, especially now that I'm living in the US. I'm coming to you from our tiny house. My husband Gary and I live in a 399 square foot tiny house on 20 acres in Kettle Falls, Washington, which is about 2 hours north of Spokane and about 30 miles south of the Canadian border around Trail, BC. And we live here with our dog Jedi, the 3 of us in our 399 square feet. So I'm delighted to be here with you and appreciate being invited to join you today. And I want to start off by saying I'm so sorry to hear about what happened last week. It's just, I can't imagine what motivates that kind of a violation of this spiritual community. And you've been in my heart since I've heard about it. I've been praying prayers of peace for all of you and for your communities. And with the safety protocols we have in place this morning, I know we can relax and return to having a more peaceful experience on our Sunday morning. So blessings to all of you who have gone through that. My talk title is Journey to Awakening. I'm going to share my screen now. And we're going to explore today what that journey might be like, this journey to awakening, what it might entail. The celebrated Jungian analyst, James Holos, says this: to engage with the summons of our souls is to step into the deepest ocean, uncertain whether we will be able to swim to some new distant shore. And I love this way of looking at the heroic journey, the summons of the soul that he speaks of it can be experienced as a divine discontent. I don't know if if you've had that sense of being divinely discontent, a sense that there's more to life, and there's a greater expression of who I am, and it's wanting to come forth, this evolutionary impulse that we have, and the realization that any kind of endless striving outside of ourselves for more or better is really not what life is all about. After all, as Dr. Holos points out, if the soul could be so easily bought, he says, our culture would work. We would all be ecstatically happy with our lives all the time. And as we look around our world, we can see that that is not the case for many in our culture and outside of our culture. So this summons of the soul is a calling forth of a deeper dimension that lives within us. It's asking all of us to become more of who we already are at the soul level. And it's that essential self, and to bring it forth in the world instead of getting more in order to prove our value and worth. It's about being more of who we already are. Not kind of to improve ourselves, but as an awakened expression of the truth of who we are already. It's a journey of the heart, a quest to awaken more fully to who we are and why we're here. And this quest has the potential to wake us up, to hear this call, and to ultimately rouse us from the slumber of the limited self. And we become motivated to heed the summons that we have been given. And so this call to evolve and to grow is inherent in our divine nature. And when we answer it, this journey to awakening begins. Bill Moyers, in his famous interview with the mythologist Joseph Campbell, asked him if he still believed that we as a species are participating in one of the greatest leaps of human spirit. And he answered, the greatest ever. The greatest ever. And so we might think of this journey as a solitary one, and yet it's really up for us as a human family right now. In fact, Matthew Fox calls this time a dark night of the species. And I agree with him, but I do know that the dark night has this amazing potential for evolutionary change if we answer the call, if we listen to where we're being guided and called to get on this journey of transformation. So ask yourself, have you been feeling this sense of divine discontent, unsatisfied with the things that our culture says make us happy? Are you looking around the world and seeing signs that something's got to give here? Something has to change. There's something deeper going on. And is your soul sending you a summons to step up and to become more as part of that change, that evolutionary change? So this inward journey, it's not a new concept to us by any means, of course. It can be found in universal mythology. And that mythology is embedded in our culture. And that, I love Jean Houston's description of myth as containing the greater story that never was, but is always happening. The greater story that never was, but is always happening. And although the word myth has come to mean falsehood really in our modern day, ironically, encoded within it, we find deep spiritual truth that transcends culture and race and language and religion. And Joseph Campbell beautifully defines myth as the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into human manifestation. I just love Joseph Campbell and all of his work. So mythology offers us a window of understanding, providing an inner view of our own path of personal self-discovery. And these myths come in all different forms: fairy tales, fables, legends, allegories, chronicles, biblical tales, native stories. And interestingly, no one knows the origin of them. No one knows the origin of traditional myths. They're part of an oral tradition that has existed throughout the mists of time. The Grimm brothers just wrote down the fairy tales that were already part of the cultural scene. They didn't author them. And I'm very, very fascinated by the study of mythology, and especially with the fact that in every civilization, every culture, every society, you find similar allegories and folklore, creation stories, flood stories, fairy tales. You can find the same story in many different cultures passed down from ancient times in generation to generation in different parts of the world. The faces change, the circumstances may differ, but the central motif at the center of the story, the core of the story, remains the same. So why is that? Why do these common stories show up all over the world? Well, because disguised within the riddle of universal myths and legends, the heroic journey is revealed, the spiritual quest, this promise of our becoming more, it's there. And in these stories, our hero or our heroine gets a call, goes out into the world, overcomes something that seems to be unbeatable, and then returns home a changed person. And so this heroic journey shows up in many modern day stories. If you think about Star Wars and Harry Potter, The Matrix, Lord of the Rings, Wizard of Oz, Karate Kid, all with the same message that what appears to be insurmountable can be overcome. That's the biggest message for us in this world of mythological guidance that we have at our fingertips there. And each character has a message for us. Each character mirrors something for us. We know this from biblical metaphysics, of course. And we can look at Sleeping Beauty as reflecting our own conscious awakening. Hearing about Jack outwitting a giant or David defeating Goliath, it's about overcoming our own internal giants. And the search for the Holy Grail mirrors our own kind of soulful wandering as spiritual seekers. And I've heard these myths described as dramatized personifications of energetic design within us, which is a little crazy there. And but it's coded right within our DNA, the DNA of the human psyche. And so hidden within these mythological stories, we find archetypal symbols that provide guidance for us, that provide insight for us in our own spiritual journey. So by working consciously with ancient mythology, it gives us a window of what's going on within us. You see, it's mirrored out there. The story mirrors what's happening within us. And we have the potential to be every character in the story, including, sad to say, the villains, right? And so we can ask ourselves a question, what is my internal Darth Vader? Not destroying planets, but maybe destroying my own hopes and dreams, that critical voice that, carries on inside of us. But what about Luke? What Luke gifts do I have within me? And you may remember that Luke did not overcome Darth Vader by force, small f force, by killing him, but by large F force, love. And that's what this is all about, is the power of love. That's where the power lies. To paraphrase Catherine Ponder, love your way through life rather than battling it, and love will reveal its secret power. Love your way through life, not battle. And then that power is revealed. And so this heroic struggle is an internal one. And it's a reckoning with our own shadow. So you heard earlier that I'm really into, providing all of us with an avenue to do that kind of shadow integration, because that's what it takes. It takes integrating those parts of ourselves that have been orphaned in some way. See, as the Buddha is reported to saying it's about overcoming ourselves rather than another. That is what this hero's journey is all about. And because here's something to keep in mind. The truth is that what remains unconscious within us actually owns us. It actually fuels our conditioned behavior, self-sabotaging kind of behaviors. And so our work is to go within, to uncover what we might think of the villains within us, those parts that we have deemed unacceptable, and then welcome them back with love. That is the work. That is the heroic journey. Welcome that part of ourselves that we have not let into our hearts, and we've kind of kept exiled in a way, to welcome it back with love. And then that's what happens, is that villain gets integrated, the shadow gets integrated, and the power from it is available for us. I love this picture because I think it really captures this whole idea of integrating what we consider our villains. And so this is what the journey to awakening is. It's awakening to what is still unconscious within us that is holding us back from being all that we can be, and then doing the healing work with self-love, self-compassion, kindness. My newest book that I'm writing is called, suddenly the title just flew out of my, Survival of the Kindness. That's what it is, Survival of the Kindness. And it's really about this evolutionary path that we're on, and what it's going to take for us to go beyond our yesterday self. But when we do this, we start to work with our unfinished business from the past, and we actually integrate it and put it to rest, so that it no longer is still being an issue for us in our lives. And in many of these heroic stories, there's this ragtag group of unlikely heroes that are drawn together, but those members all end up contributing in some way. And when they do, we get beyond the losing battle that it appears is happening, right? It looks like there's no way they can win, but each character gives us some part of the puzzle, so that now when we offer those gifts, we can overcome this unbeatable foe, this seemingly unbeatable foe, and emerge victorious. So even when we think that we are powerless, that we are weak, that we have very little to offer, when we look at this greater outer world and what's happening, and just feel like, what can I do? What's one person? Make no mistake, nothing could be further from the truth. Every one of us has the power within us to help to bring forth this change. We are all valuable characters in this personal, universal story that is playing out on the big screen, especially in these times when what has been held in the collective unconscious is now up and about. Because I really believe that our collective shadow is becoming more and more conscious for us, and that part of our work is to help with the survival of the kindness, to help bring it into integration. So our power lies in our connection. Really, that's the big thing. Our power lies in our connection, by sharing the gifts that we have, each of us. And love is that connection between us. Love is the glue, it's the magnet, it's what keeps it all together. Did you know that someone, if they were experiencing some mild pain, but they have someone with them, even someone they don't know, that the brain doesn't light up the same way as it does when someone's in pain by themselves. It's a different experience when you feel supported in some way. Different experience, and connection is the key. So our shared heart is our strength. Our shared heart is our strength on this heroic journey. And make no mistake, each and every one of us is a vital and much needed member of this group. Every one of us. And we want to take that to heart as we consider what journey we're being asked to embark upon. Because there are others who have made this journey and can guide us in our quest. So who do you consider your spiritual heroes? Just think about that for a moment. Who do you turn to? Who do you learn from? Who do you emulate? Who's the trailblazer for you on your spiritual journey? Maybe your heroes are iconic figures: Jesus, Mother Mary, Buddha, Krishna, Paramahansa Yogananda, Saraswati, the Dalai Lama. Maybe authors and teachers: Byron Katie, Ernest Holmes, Brene Brown, Oprah, Eckhart Tolle, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, Tara Brach, Thich Nhat Hanh, Edwin Gaines. Perhaps it's larger than life fictional characters like Jean-Luc and Trinity, Yoda, Mr. Spock. Think of all the spiritual heroes who have been part of your awakening journey, soulful people who have overcome obstacles and spark inspiration, learning, understanding, and a deeper awareness of who you really are. And while none of these heroes can take the journey for us, they can aid us along the way by leaving breadcrumbs and sharing signposts. So when we look at all these myths and legends illustrating the heroic journey, there are three aspects showing up. The first is the calling, and that calling can happen with a change of some kind, often unwanted. Dorothy's house flies out of Kansas. Luke Skywalker loses his aunt and uncle and goes into hiding. Frodo is forced to leave the Shire before the ring falls into the wrong hands. All these heroes were reluctantly forced into leaving their normal life. And in our personal life, there could be a loss or an end of some kind that propels us into change. You lose your job through downsizing, a long-time relationship ends, a loved one dies. But we could also choose to transform. Someone offers us the red pill, as they did with Neo in the Matrix. And we find ourselves at this choice point, you see. Either I can take the red pill and leave the comforts of unconscious living, or I can take the blue pill and go back to sleep. And when we choose the red pill, we can sometimes have regrets, like, I wish I could go back to the way my life was. Have you ever had that thought? Even if you didn't want that life, just the familiarity of it. When Gary and I chose to move here, we moved from an 1,800 square foot home in the city to this 399 square feet in 20 acres, way, way out in the country. And at the same time, we retired from pulpit ministry. And so suddenly we were just away from all that we had known for several years. And, even though it was a choice, and it's a choice that I would make again a second time, I've had moments. I miss my friends, my congregation, some of the conveniences I had that I said goodbye to when I left the city. And that's from change I chose to do. So we can either be thrust into starting this journey or choose it and later wonder what on earth we were thinking. But one way or another, we leave the comfort of our present consciousness for parts unknown. That's the beginning of this journey. The second aspect is the wandering in the wilderness, also called liminal space. The goo phase of the caterpillar to butterfly transformation. It's no longer a caterpillar, not yet a butterfly. It's this goo of imaginal cells. And this phase takes as long as it takes. The Israelites, if you remember, wandered for 40 years, which means metaphysically, as long as it takes. You wander until you don't. But the wilderness is when the most potent transformation can happen, when we're in that place of uncertainty, when we're no longer where we started out, but we haven't reached where we're going yet. It's a time of maturation, introspection, learning, growing, developing, gaining greater insight, discovering our gifts. It's part of the evolutionary path to do this, a time of silence and integration and release. And eventually, we find ourselves at the end of the wilderness period and we reach the promised land, the time of rebirth, emergence of something greater. And there's been an awakening of some kind to our evolutionary growth. We start to see life differently. There's a deeper understanding. There's a seeing the abilities that we have that maybe were dormant before. I mean, they were always there, but this has brought them forth. You know, there's a saying that human beings are like tea bags. We don't know our own strength until we're in hot water. And it may be a cliche, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. And we become that change that we seek. We rise up in that moment to rejoice and celebrate. The dragon is no longer a threat. The ruby slippers got us home. You know, Darth Vader's left the building, whatever it is. But of course, the work doesn't end there. Now we bring this awakened awareness back with us and become a beacon for others who are hearing this call to become more. And the evolutionary journey just carries on. It begins anew. As Rumi tells us, don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth. And that's where we want to get to with this. The understanding that the story is something we're living, not telling. That's where we want to get to. And the biggest message of the heroic journey is that we can overcome. We can become so much more. And the story can change. The story can transform. That's the gift in here. We may feel as if we are never going to overcome our own personal Goliath, whatever that may be in our life, but the story tells us otherwise. See, that's the good news. The most unlikely heroes can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. And guess what? We are all on the heroic journey. Every single one of you is a hero or a heroine. And you know how I know that you're a hero or a heroine? Because you're here. See, you've shown up. You've shown up on this planet, a spiritual being in a human form. And that takes courage. It takes great courage to say yes to this journey, to go from idyllic, blissful existence, knowing your oneness with life, with source, the garden, as we hear in the Hebrew scriptures, and then abruptly leaving that garden as we are flung into a world of duality. And we arrive in this strange, noisy, physical world, pretty harsh conditions outside the garden walls to begin our physical sojourn, especially after 9 months of warmth and safety in the womb. And we arrive totally innocent, dependent on others' caregiving in order to survive, trying to make our way through it all, while on top of it, we forget who we really are. Now, I got to tell you, that takes guts to do that, to agree to come on this journey and forget the magnificence that we are. And so part of what we're here to do is to rediscover that magnificence, rediscover the original innocence, recapture our essence, and reawaken to our wholeness and reacquaint ourselves with our inherent worthiness. It's all part of it. Because here's the truth. Your value and your worth are non-negotiable. They are a given. There's no if, there's no when. Just you have value and worth, period, by virtue of your aliveness. And part of the heroic journey is to rediscover that truth. And that's why we do the shadow work, that all these beliefs we may have about unworthiness or not being good enough, we work with those. We get beyond them because they're false, they're limiting, and we can grow into this greater expression. Some believe that the setting that we've chosen, the setting that we're born into, others believe it's the roll of the dice, and or that we're thrust into situations because of karmic or soul contracts. Carl Jung refers to our physical existence as a luminous pause between two mysteries. I love that. Ram Dass tells us we're passing through a life in which the entire drama is an offering for our awakening. So no matter how we view this lifetime or how we think we got here or why we're here, the one thing we can't deny is that we are here now. And so if we look back on our life through a mythic lens, using compassionate curiosity, self-kindness, we can discover our own life myths. Imagine that, finding out what your life myth is, looking at all the twists and the turns, the overcoming, all we've learned, and seeing that everything has the potential to help us to awaken and evolve into a greater expression of who we are, here to make a difference in our world. Do you know that about yourself? Because it's the truth. So what part of the heroic journey are you living right now? Are you getting the urge to become more restless, divine discontent, feeling like your soul is calling you forth? Or are you stuck in liminal space, facing your fears, feeling like this is never going to end? Or are you stepping through the threshold into a greater expression of who you are? The greater story that never was, but is always happening. So evolutionary transformation means we go beyond our yesterday self, transcending while including the earlier version. And we see life differently from a higher vantage point when that happens, looking with the eyes of love. In April, I will be sharing with you for 3 consecutive Sundays leading up to Easter. And we will look more closely at each of these 3 aspects of the heroic journey: the call, the wilderness, and the rebirth. So let me ask you, are you being summoned by your soul? Consider yourself served this morning and start listening to that inner voice that is calling you into a greater expression of who you are. And remember always that you already have within you all that you need to be successful on your heroic journey. And I'm so grateful you are here as a part of this cultural evolutionary moment in our species history. So thank you for that. And so I want to just begin. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to take some time now for us to meditatively kind of bring this into our hearts as we just settle into our seats. Take a breath. Really sink your awareness deep within your body, feeling the soles of your feet. If you want to plant them on the floor, go ahead and feel what that feels like. And now move your attention upward through your body, through the ankles and calves and shins, your thighs, to your hips. Move up through the trunk of your body. To your shoulders, arms and hands. Upward through the neck, to your face, your head. Really inhabit your body. Inhabit this moment. As we sink our awareness deep, deep within this embodied spiritual journey that we are on. Within us are the gifts that can lead us through it. Every single one of us. And as we connect with those gifts, we realize that we are here to make a difference in our world, our little corner of the world. And so just notice your breathing and let it anchor you deeper and deeper in this moment. And with the next breath, imagine you're breathing right into your heart space. You can put your hand on your heart if you choose. Feel your heart beat. Feel the rhythm of your breath. Just imagine breathing right into the heart. As you bring into your mind's eye someone, something that you deeply appreciate Could be a beloved person in your life, could be a cherished pet, a memory that warms your heart, place of beauty, whatever it is. Choose someone or something that activates this feeling of appreciation and let it warm your heart. Eckhart Tolle tells us that gratitude is the fragrance of the present moment. When we become so present to what is, gratitude is the natural occurrence. And so we breathe into the heart space and we allow this feeling to grow and expand and radiate throughout our bodies. Just notice how that feels. Imagine every cell of your body being invigorated and blessed by this healing vibration of appreciation. Now we breathe into the heart and we let it expand beyond the body as we create an energetic field of harmony, peace. This is our divine connection. That as we come into alignment with source energy, our hearts open, the portal opens to this deeper dimension. And love can reveal its secret power. And so just imagine sending the love in your heart to someone that you deeply love. Know that as you are emanating this healing, loving vibration, that you are creating an energetic field that is healing for the world, for those around us. Now, return your attention to your breath and just notice your aliveness. And know the truth that you are here on this heroic journey to be the one to make the difference in your world. It is no accident that you have been born into the setting you're born into, that every twist and turn in your life has the opportunity to help awaken this deeper dimension of who you are. And for this truth, that all of us are on this evolutionary journey, becoming more of who we are, expressing more of the truth in our lives, being source in action. That we can overcome all obstacles and see clearly the truth. And so it is.